Following its tradition for the 62nd time, the George Washington chapter of the Virginia Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, marching with 138 members of the SAR, Daughters of the American Revolution, Children of the American Revolution, and their friends and families, honored the nation's Declaration of Independence and its first president at Mount Vernon on July 4th, 2022.
Shoulder, come!
Sons of the American Revolution. On behalf of the SAR, and with great thanks to the many members of the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Children of the American Revolution here today, and their families and guests, welcome and thank you all for being here. I'd like to say a few words for the benefit of our guests and members of the general public who may be with us about who we are and why we are gathered here today on this significant occasion. The Sons of the American Revolution is a patriotic, educational, and historical organization dedicated to preserving the memory and legacy of those courageous men and women who fought for the independence of our nation that we celebrate today. Each of our members has traced ancestry back to one or more of the patriots who fought in or provided substantial support to the revolution during those fateful years, 1775 to 1783. The Daughters of the American Revolution is our larger sister organization. The Children of the American Revolution are the younger, prospective members of the DAR and SAR. It is together that we seek to preserve and to honor the patriotic history and legacy of the American Revolution. It was more than 60 years ago upon the encouragement of a great-great-grandson of Alexander Hamilton, that the George Washington chapter began the tradition of laying a wreath at the tomb of our chapter namesake on the 4th of July. We're delighted to have you join us today and honor the father of our country once again. And as we begin our ceremony, I would also like to express our deep appreciation to the Mount Vernon's exemplary events staff, particularly Ms. Joan Flintoff and Mr. Jason Rusk. Without their patience, expert advice, and support, today's ceremony just simply would not have been possible. So great thanks to Mount Vernon. At this time, I would ask you all to please stand and to remain standing until we receive today's speakers. I call upon the Reverend Dr. Eugene Thomas, chaplain of the Virginia Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, to deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. As we gather, O God, on this occasion today, we ask your blessings upon each of us. We thank you for this day as we honor the memory of our President George Washington and our First Lady. We esteem his patriotism. We remember his courage, his faith, and his loyalty, and his willingness to sacrifice to make this world a better place. We thank you too for America and all patriots who have given us the liberties and privileges that we enjoy. May we be willing to serve you in our nation, even as our father George Washington did. May the ideals that we remember from the past today sustain us today and safeguard us for tomorrow. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Thomas. Most well received. And now, please let me introduce Ms. Teresa Guyson, who will lead us in the national anthem. Ms. Guyson, would you please come forward?
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. Oh, America, sweet America, God shed his grace on thee, and from the good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ms. Geisen, thank you very much for your stunning and stirring rendition. I now call upon Will Elston, President of the Virginia Society, Children of the American Revolution, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Elston. Okay, I now call upon Covert Beach, the Master of Arms, at Arms of the George Washington Chapter, to lead us in the SAR Pledge.
We, descendants of the heroes of the American Revolution, who by their sacrifices established the United States of America, reaffirm our faith in the principles of liberty and our constitutional republic, and solemnly pledge ourselves to defend them against every foe.
Thank you very much, compatriot Beach. You may be seated if you're so equipped. Compatriots, esteemed daughters, members of the CAR family, and guests, we are truly delighted that you are here with us this morning and here today. Let us please begin with a recognition of our attendees and guests. It strikes me as I launch forward in this may take a little while because we have a very, very large number of distinguished guests, and that is a credit to all present. I begin with the Sons of the American Revolution. Let us first recognize Mr. Joe Dooley. He is the past President General of the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution and the current President of the SAR Foundation. Mr. Dooley is today's Honor Guard Commander. Let us also recognize Michael Elston, who presently serves as the Chancellor General of the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. Mr. Elston is the father of Will Elston, President of the Virginia Society of the Children of the American Revolution, to whom we are indebted for his leadership today in leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Both Mr. Elston and Mr. Dooley are members of the George Washington Chapter. A bit closer to home, we in the George Washington Chapter are doing everything we can in our part to make sure our first speaker has no free weekends during his entire tenure in office. And President Meyer knows who we're talking about. And that is because he's spending a great deal of his valuable time with our chapter. I would now ask that Bruce Meyer, President of the Virginia Society, Sons of the American Revolution, step forward to bring greetings. President Meyer.
Thank you, Rand. Yes, Rand's right. They do keep me running. But it's always a pleasure to be at Mount Vernon or in the D.C. area working with the compatriots of the George Washington Chapter. There are about 250 members of our organization who are 2,100 members strong throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I'd like to bring you greetings on this wonderful patriotic day. Let us all celebrate today as our forefathers wished that we would. Enjoy our day. Remember that we're all brothers and sisters in this country and siblings in liberty. And so I hope that we carry forward through the rest of the year with that spirit and remembrance, no matter how heated our debates or discussions may be. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, President Meyer. We pledge to continue our efforts in your direction. Indeed. And now I would like to recognize other Virginia State SAR officers in attendance. Would you please hold your applause, however, until all have been announced. With us today are Ernie Coggins, First Vice President of Vassar, Thomas Wreath, Vassar Historian, the Reverend Dr. Eugene Thomas, Vassar Chaplain, and Captain Chris Mellish, Vassar Color Guard Commander. You may show your appreciation. We are also honored to welcome many other leaders of the Virginia Sons of the American Revolution. Our immediate past state president, Jeff Thomas, is with us in today's honor guard, as are his predecessors, Colonel Schwedke and Pete Davenport, in the color guard. Also in the honor guard is Dr. Michael Weiler, Governor of the Virginia Society, Order of the Founders and Patriots of America, and a former president of the Colonel William Grayson chapter. Please join us in welcoming all of them. We now also would like to recognize the current Vassar chapter presidents in attendance. They are Fritz Barth of the George Mason chapter and our own President Rankin. Welcome. And further as to the SAR, we also wish to recognize the many other Vassar chapters here today. They include Jamestown, George Mason, Fairfax Resolves, Sergeant Major John Champy, Culpeper Minutemen, Colonel James Wood II, Fairfax Resolves, Thomas Jefferson, and Colonel William Grayson. Thank you all for your chapter support. And then on behalf of the George Washington chapter, I'd also like to extend a special welcome to the members of the Maryland State Society of the Sons of the American Revolution who are marching with the Honor Guard today. We are honored to have all of you here. And finally, I would like to recognize our past George Washington chapter presidents in attendance today. Please, again, hold your applause until both have been announced, or all have been announced, and they are William Keenan Torrens, Mike Elston, Ernie Coggins, Jay Henn, and Tom Wreath. Gentlemen, we follow in your footsteps, and we hope to do you proud. Shifting now a bit, over the years, but especially at this event, as we have all noticed, we've enjoyed the incredible support from the daughters of the American Revolution. Your strong presence today is testament to your commitment to honor our American Revolution heritage. We are extremely fortunate, therefore, that the State Regent of Virginia, Ms. Lori Nesbitt, will be presenting greetings on behalf of the DAR. Madam State Regent, would you please bring greetings?
Good morning. As the new Virginia State Regent, not quite 24 hours yet, I bring greetings from the nearly 10,000 Virginia daughters of the American Revolution. As we commemorate George Washington today, it would be remiss not to mention, for want of a better word, the partnership he and Martha Washington had. It's said that behind every great man, there's a great woman, and that was certainly true in the Washingtons' case. Martha Washington kept the home fires burning and Mount Vernon operating smoothly enough that George Washington could focus on military operations. When she visited in the field encampments, she brought as many home comforts as possible, serving as sort of an early USO. Military forces, then and now, perform better, and morale is certainly higher when they know they have the support of their families, and whatever else we can do to support them in their mission. If Martha didn't know this at the beginning, she came to understand it quickly. So as we commemorate George Washington, let's also think about Martha. Together, they were America's first great team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam State Regent. We're very glad to have you. We would also like to recognize other Virginia State officers in attendance. Please hold your applause until all have been announced. They are two in this instance: District 5 Director Nancy M. Hill and District 8 Director Kimberly Scott. If you'd care to stand, please. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. I'd like to pause at this point to add my very personal thanks for your great efforts in bringing this event together, which has resulted in the DAR's remarkable representation here today, including the many officers of the Districts 5 and 8. Thank you. We literally couldn't have done it without you. And then, we would also like to recognize current DAR chapter regents in attendance this morning. Please hold your applause until all have been listed. They are Kristen Morgan of the Bill of Rights chapter, Sue Martin, Falls Church, Carrie Ann Alford, John Alexander, Margaret Welker, Lanes Mill, Shannon Combs Bennett, Phyllis Wheatley, and Nancy Watford of the Catoctin chapter. Please share your applause for these regents. Finally, on behalf of the George Washington chapter, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to all of the many other DA officers and chapters represented here today. As I walked the line, as it were, this morning, there were a very, very large number of DAR members, and thank you for being here. Those other chapters not already mentioned include the Kate Waller Barrett chapter, Pentagon, Stonebridge, Fairfax County, Freedom Hill, and Friends of the Rappahannock. Please recognize those chapters. Finally, we recognize the children of the American Revolution. As members of legacy organizations, the SAR and DAR have a special responsibility to encourage and support our legacies, members of the children of the American Revolution. You've already been introduced to Mr. Will Elston during the Pledge of Allegiance. Recognition is also due to the many seniors in the CAR. They are so called because those are the adults who invest their time, energy, and fortunes in support of that great organization. We're honored that the senior officers of the CIR are with us today. They are notably Ann Cabri Forsyth, the Senior State President, and Mr. Mike Elston, former Senior State President. Please welcome them. Yes, sir. And then I do have a couple of notes. This is borrowed from last year. This is a recruiting alert, so stand by. And this is true for most everyone here today. If you have children or grandchildren, they are eligible for the CAR. Please don't delay. Sign up. The representatives are here. Don't let the opportunity pass. And then, on a personal note, it's plain from the foregoing that we have a very large number of distinguished SAR, DAR, and CAR members here today, and we've sought to recognize them. However, noting my failings, I'm sure I've omitted inadvertently some of the people worthy and meriting recognition. I pledge to try to do better in the future, but please accept my apology if I've inadvertently omitted you. Again, to all of our attendees, thank you for being here and celebrating this momentous event with us. It's now my pleasure to welcome our current chapter president, Richard Rankin. President Rankin has been active in the George Washington chapter since he joined the SAR in 2015. In addition to his strong support for our chapter, he's also served on the Vassar Northern Region Committee and the newly created Insurance Committee. Richard hails from Pennsylvania. His early years were spent in Trooper, Pennsylvania. If you don't know where that is, it's very close to Valley Forge, and the legacy is here today. Later, his family moved to Lancaster County. Richard attended the American University, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration and subsequently earning an MBA in Corporate Finance, again at AU. His professional background started at Amtrak as supervisor of insurance. Later, he accepted a position in Bermuda to manage the creation of American captive insurance companies domiciled in Bermuda. Those are his words. But then I muse, I wonder, since he occasionally refers to golf, I wonder if he spent some time perfecting his game there. He can address that later. Returning to the U.S., he joined an insurance brokerage firm, InSpace, selling insurance products to aviation and aerospace clients, some of whom were launching satellites into space. After InSpace, he was acquired by Aon. He was appointed as the Director of Insurance for U.S. Airways. To sum it up, it's fair to say his career involved arranging for insurance for trains, planes, no automobiles, but many faraway things. Richard also serves on the board of the Falls Church Cable Access Corporation, a community-based access television station serving the viewing needs of the Falls Church community. Richard is a member of and an avid supporter of Mount Vernon. Richard's Patriot ancestor is George Fisher, who initially served in the Pennsylvania Militia and later in the 3rd Pennsylvania Regiment. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming Richard Rankin.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. A little technical step here. In July 1776, Congress was seeking to write a document, actually a declaration, that told the world why the colonists were cutting their ties with Britain. A congressional committee wrote the draft version, which Jefferson, Sherman, Adams, Livingston, and Franklin submitted to Congress. There in Congress, the delegates debated it, took out passages which were critical of the English people and of slavery, and adopted it on July 4th, which we celebrate as our Independence Day. The Declaration was not signed by any delegate until early August, after being engrossed on parchment by Timothy Matlack, a Philadelphia beer bottler who had extremely fine penmanship. Most delegates gathered to sign the parchment copy on August the 10th, but a few others signed it later. Eventually, 56 delegates put their names on it, pledging their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. The date July 4th, 1776, created life-altering choices among the colonists, either to remain a subject of King George III or to become a citizen of an untested republic, or as Franklin said, a republic if you can keep it. The choice would mark the beginning of new lives for everyone in North America. Citizenship refers to a personal allegiance to a government in exchange for its protection at home and abroad. Full political rights, including the right to vote, hold public office, and civil liberties, are typically granted to native-born citizens, jus soli, the Latin term, the right of the soil, or it may be granted to naturalized citizens, a person who has met the official requirements that make him or her a citizen of a country other than the country of our birth, their birth. Later this morning, up by the mansion on the East Lawn, 50 petitioners will become naturalized American citizens. George Washington's administration proposed and signed the first Naturalization Act of 1790. And it is fitting that Mount Vernon continues to serve as a venue for the naturalizing of some of our newest citizens. Although a citizen has rights, in contrast, a subject has privileges. In Britain, as a subject of the king or queen, technically speaking, you don't have rights. You have whatever privileges the king allows you. In most countries, you are not only allowed to do what the government permits you, but almost all countries in the world, except for the United States, have the status of being a subject. In America, we can do anything we like, as long as it is not specifically limited by the government, and the government can only restrict in ways that are in the Constitution. That's a pretty radical concept. In fact, when it was first instituted, it had never actually been tried before. Many people predicted it would fall quite spectacularly, but in the 246 years, we have the most stable, long-lasting government since the Roman Empire. As citizens, we welcome the right to fully participate in voting, holding office, serving in the military, serving on a jury, or a citizens committee, or even a school board. Our Declaration of July 4th expanded our opportunities for a fuller participation in society. It also offered us the opportunity to help with the preservation of American history and our national symbols. Sadly, recent events in many cities have attacked our imperfect history, both as being a citizen or our culture, and have been tried to marginalize, discredit, or even erase from view. In Philadelphia, the tomb of the unknown soldier of the American Revolution was defaced with vile graffiti. Statues of past slave-owning presidents like Washington, Jefferson, and Tyler, as well as non-slave-owning presidents such as Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt, have been attacked or even removed out of sight. Our George Orwell wrote, "Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book has been rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Every statue and street building has been renamed. Every date has been altered." And the process continues day by day, minute by minute. History has stopped. This challenge is stronger than ever before, but we have been meeting this challenge for many ways. The SAR has also sought to promote patriotism, respect of our national symbols, value American citizenship, and the unifying force of E pluribus unum, that is created from the people of many nations, one nation and one people. The SAR mission has extended to promoting historical education for our future generations through competitive programs open to 4th grade through 12th graders with no requirements for revolutionary ancestry in order to compete. Our outreach must never lose even one generation, as our future leaders will come from our next generation, some of whom are with us here today. The SAR outreach education programs have encouraged and rewarded both students and teachers to learn more about our less than perfect history and to encourage them to give voice to our history. There are many SAR programs fostering our history, To name but a few, the Tom and Betty Lawrence American History Teacher Award, the Elementary School Poster Contest, the CAR Activity Awards, the George and Stella Knight Essay Contest, the Joseph Rumbaugh Historical Oration, of which the 2022 winner is with us today, ROTC, JROTC recognition programs, and education videos and media. The National SAR Education Center and Museum provides wonderful outreach to all people. In addition, our National SAR presents the Academic SAR National Conference on Revolutionary War topics. One of our past chapter luncheon speakers, Dr. Glenn Williams, was a presenter at the June conference in Pittsburgh. As we move into the 250th anniversary cycle, it is important to celebrate all events leading up to July 4th, 2026. We encourage all patriots to find a way to incorporate your Patriot Ancestor service into any of the upcoming 250th American commemorations sponsored by Vassar or your respective chapters. In my time remaining, a quick question and a comment. After 246 years of citizenship, are we still committed to participate as active citizens, or do we wish to revert to a status as a subject? Exercising your freedom is a team effort as we encourage others by words and deeds to protect the culture and freedoms remaining in our country. The poet Robert Frost once said, "Freedom lies in being bold." Most Madison Avenue research confirms that people are more likely to be persuaded by the words and deeds of a family member, a relative or a neighbor versus a slick TV or radio ad. Our voices and deeds are far more powerful than we realize. Freedom is here for the exercise. John Adams reminds us that liberty lost is lost forever. Our hope is that our country celebrates another 246 years on July 4th, which our children, grandchildren, and future generations can chase its opportunities and continue to find peace under the Liberty Tree. George Washington knew this when he wrote that liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. In his last year of life, Benjamin Franklin said, "Where liberty dwells, there is my country." And so, on this special day, let the parades, bell ringing, bonfires, fireworks remind us yet again what we the people have created for future generations.
Thank you, President Rankin. You've given us a great deal to think about. We will. Advancing now to our final speaker, please understand the SAR, as President Rankin pointed out, sponsors a wide variety of youth programs that support and advance the Society's patriotic, historical, and educational goals. One of these programs is the Joseph S. Rumbaugh Historical Oration Contest, conducted by the SAR since 1947. The Rumbaugh Oration Contest, open to all students during their high school years, encourages historical research in our high schools by promoting oratorical presentations related to the Revolutionary War period, emphasizes American history to high school students and focuses on an intelligent relationship between our past and present, and places a positive emphasis on the plans of our founding fathers. Each contestant has a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 6 minutes with no notes to present an oration on a topic that is based on a compelling Revolutionary War subject that is directly related to current national issues and patriotism. Initial rounds of the contest are held at the chapter level. Winners then compete at the state level. State level winners compete at the National SAR Congress. It's my great pleasure, therefore, to welcome this year's and last year's Virginia State winner, Ms. Lauren Bradshaw. She will be presenting her winning oration. Lauren came to our attention when she and her sister first made a presentation to an SAR chapter meeting about an old headstone that they'd discovered that turned out to be that of marking the grave of a Revolutionary War soldier. Well, the rest is history. She's taken it from there. Lauren is working to become a zoo veterinarian and has already taken college biology courses and conducted related research at George Mason University and Duke University. In high school, she was a member of several academic clubs, including the mock trial team, and is a member of the National Homeschool Honor Society. She graduated from high school in June and will be entering the University of Virginia as a biology major this fall. She's already submitted her speech via video format for the national level Rumbaugh competition at the annual upcoming SAR Congress. She's here today with her father. Lauren's speech is titled Consent of the Governed. Ladies and gentlemen, please again welcome Lauren Bradshaw.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I am thrilled to be back for my final year before leaving for college. Would you like to come downstairs in the morning and find soldiers lounging in your living room, eating your snacks and costing you money? Would you like to be dragged out of your car and impressed into service in the Navy? Did you give your government permission to take over your property or to force you into the military? I think not. And neither did the colonists under King George III. Now, in modern-day America, we have protections from these infringements, but the colonists did not. These rules were forced upon them in the 1760s and the 1770s, in the time when the colonists became more and more revolutionary under the tyrannical reign of King George III. One of their main grievances against King George was that they had very little input in the decisions that he made that greatly influenced their lives. Quite simply, they wanted a voice. This idea is called consent of the governed. It was first introduced by Enlightenment-era thinkers like John Locke. It was instrumental in the decision to declare independence from England, and it is just as important today, nearly 250 years after that monumental shot heard around the world. Now, during the revolutionary time period, the founding fathers lived under a tyrannical rule. With actions like the 1765 Stamp Act and Quartering Act and the 1774 Coercive Acts, King George handed down oppressive edicts without so much as consulting the colonies. In reaction, the Founding Fathers wrote documents like Common Sense, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, and, of course, the Declaration of Independence, to make it clear that consent of the governed is needed for the functioning of a free and democratic society. Of course, these ideas were later forged into our great Constitution and our current representative republic system. First, we have common sense. It was a 47-page pamphlet written by Thomas Paine in January of 1776. It was immensely popular and actually radically affected American opinions. In paragraph 10 of Common Sense, Thomas Paine argued that citizens have to consent to being governed by some sort of representative simply because a strict democracy is difficult in such large a country. In paragraph 128, he said quite simply that without the consent of the governed, the seat of American government would be filled by, quote, some fortunate ruffian. Now, just a few months later, George Mason wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights in May of 1776. This had several key ideas that were later somewhat plagiarized to add into the Bill of Rights. Mason suggested that anyone, specifically with the right to vote, cannot be taxed or otherwise deprived of property without their consent, or indirectly that of their representatives. Of course, the final document is the Declaration of Independence. It was the first document to use the clear phrase, consent of the governed. Thomas Jefferson's rhetorical masterpiece slammed the relationship between King George and the colonies as, quote, a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. The Declaration also mentioned the imposition of taxes and the keeping of a standing army in the colonies without consent as part of the grievances. Thomas Jefferson made his personal expectations for consent of the governed clear by saying that governments are constituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Now, in the modern American government, it should not function without the permission of the citizens or of our representatives. And while the voting franchise has expanded over the years to include the voice of more and more Americans, emphasis on consent of the governed has decreased. Presidents are often controversial, but the last two both reached record low approval numbers of around 33% in recent years. This means that roughly 2 in 3 Americans did not support or consent to the trajectory that our country was on. Meanwhile, congressmen are meant to directly respond to their constituents, but a 2018 poll suggested that just 25% of Americans felt somewhat well represented in Congress. Meanwhile, a massive unelected bureaucracy and executive orders create regulations that are treated as laws, and that completely bypass the need for consent of the governed. In the 250 years since the Founding Fathers wrote those groundbreaking documents and made their expectations for a young country clear, hyperpartisanship has taken over the United States. Politicians allow their personal biases to rule out over the will of the people. This can be fixed, however. We, the people, can vote to elect representatives who will appropriately voice our opinions at the federal level. At the lower level, states must be given more power to allow constituents a clearer voice. Actions like congressional term limits will once more force congressmen to respond to the will of the people and to act only with the consent of the governed. We built an entire country around this ideal. To preserve the meaning of consent of the governed is to protect America as we know it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bradshaw. Fantastic. No doubt it is that you are the winner of the state and undoubtedly the national competition, so all you have to do is bring home the gold now. Okay. Now, this concludes the Tomb Grove portion of our ceremony as we prepare for the ultimate portion of the ceremony at the tomb itself.
Guard, present, arms. Order, arms.
very much, gentlemen.
Guard, rest.
I think so. That's what I'm thinking. Well, wait till they see what Francis. Well, yes, we do. Definitely. The ceremony will now honor General Washington and Martha Washington with the presentation of carnations, first by our usher and then by the Sons of the American Revolution. So, Usher Danis, would you please proceed? Can I take your position?
No, please.
One, please. Two.
Let us now praise men of renown and our fathers of their generation. Lord has brought great glory to his magnificent kingdom.
I'm in front of it. Two.
Showing forth in the prophets the dignity of prophets, ruling over the present people, by the strength of wisdom, instructing the people in much wisdom.
Just go ahead.
And please place the carnations on the red.
And they liveth unto generation unto generation. The people show forth their praise, and the nations declare their praise.
Members of the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Psalm 91. Whosoever dwelleth under the defense of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say unto the Lord, Thou art my hope, and my stronghold, my God, in whom I trust. He shall deliver thee from the snare of the hunter, and from the noisome pestilence. He shall defend thee under his wings, and thou shalt be safe under his feathers. His faithfulness and truth shall be thy shield and thy buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for any terror by night, nor the arrow that flieth by day, for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor the sickness that destroyeth in the noonday. 1,000 shall fall beside thee, and 10,000 at thy right hand, and it shall not come nigh thee. Yea, thine eyes shall thou behold, and see the reward. For thou, Lord, art my foe, and will set thy house of defense very high. There shall no evil happen unto thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. He give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee in their hands, and thou shalt hurt not thy foot against the stone. They shall go against the lion and the adder, the young lion and the dragon shall thou tread under thy feet. Because he set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will send him out because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will fear him. Yea, I am with them in trouble. I will deliver them and bring him to honor. Long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Psalm 112. Look at his commandment, fear of the Lord, and have great delight in his commandments. The seed shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the faithful shall be blessed. Riches and plenty shall be his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. Godly rises up light in the darkness. He is merciful, loving, and righteous. The good man is merciful and loving, and guide his words with discretion. He shall never be moved, and the righteous shall be everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid of any evil tidings, for his heart standeth fast, and believeth in the Lord. His heart is established, he will not fear, having chosen desires for his own. He hath dispersed abroad and given to the poor. Righteousness remaineth forever. His deed shall be exalted with honor. Psalm 118. Give thanks unto the Lord. He is gracious, that his mercy endureth forever. Israel now confesses he is gracious, and that his mercy endureth forever. The house of Aaron now confess that his mercy endureth forever. Yea, let them now that fear the Lord confess that his mercy endureth forever. I called upon the Lord in trouble, and the Lord heard me at once. The Lord is on my side. I will not fear what man doeth unto me. The Lord taketh my part. Therefore shall I see my desire upon my name. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put any confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put any confidence in princes. The Lord is my strength and my song, and has become my salvation. The voice of joy and health in the dwellings of the righteous. The right hand of the Lord doeth mighty things to pass. The right hand of the Lord hath the preeminence. The right hand of the Lord doeth mighty things to
He's going out with Kyle. Yeah. He hasn't codified the real smooth professional blog yet. Subscribership, but we've got 10 groups
You can make it back over by Richard. Whatever works. Yeah, let me get back over there.
Children of the Sons of the American Revolution.
Well, he's actually toned it down somewhat.
because he does a lot more of this personal stuff going on. Like, it was really funny to follow the Holland choosing school thread. She chose SMU. SMU. And she graduated. She was not top of her class. She was third, but she was invited to speak at St. Timothy's. She was graduated. So she did real well.
Sure.